As Aussie fans, we've loved this one. We won the Ashes in record time, watching the English cop it from every angle and soaking up every moment of another dominant series win. But now that the dust has settled and the celebrations start to fade, there's a bigger question. What happens next? So that's what we want to talk about today. Not from a selector's perspective or from the boardroom, but from people like you and me, from the stands, from the couch at home. What should we be excited about? What should we be wary about? And how do we make sure the next era of Australian cricket gives us the same pride, the same edge that we've just enjoyed? I'm Ian Hawkins, and this is Sport is Life. The purpose of sport, as I see it, is to see your vision become a reality. Find your voice, create strong connections, and learn to trust your body. So the Ashes have been decided. The Aussies have wrapped it up in record time. I'm sure Nasser Hussain will be happy to relinquish that record of the fastest ever handing over of the urn. They've equalled the 11 days, but Ben Stokes' team have just pipped him in less overs. So we won't forget, though, Nasser's decision to bowl first on what he thought was a green-looking Gabba deck, only to be belted all day. So it wasn't a great start, but at least he's relinquished that unwanted record of the fastest loss of the Ashes. And a lot's been spoken about what that means for the English, but what does it mean for the Aussies? Because I think to a certain degree, we're papering over a lot of the cracks. And as good as the result was, and I've got to be honest, far more impressive than I could have imagined, the reality is there's still a fragility in our batting lineup. We are still an extremely aging team. We saw the mistakes of the early 2000s, the late 2000s when we were transitioning, when a lot of those guys from that golden era retired and they didn't get it right, and a lot of them all finished at the same time. So what have we learned? Are we going to start transitioning some of these older guys out? Because the reality is that those bowlers are all getting older. They're also seem to be getting more injured, apart from Mitchell Starc, who just seems to be an Iron Man. He's scoring runs, he's taking wickets, he's just continuing just to churn out the test matches. But the rest of them, they're getting closer to the end than they are to the start. There's only a few of the guys who are young. I think Marnus is 31, so he's on the younger side, but he's still over 30. Cam Green's under 30. But the rest of them are getting to an age where, going back 30 years ago, most of them retired. Now we know in the professional era that situation is different. But where do we go now? What are they going to start to do? There's a heap of quality bowlers waiting in the wings, but it's not just a matter of putting them in and then expect them to be as successful as the four, or if you include Boland, the five guys who have just been so dependable for so long. There's also been a lot of those guys who got injured. So you got Jhye Richardson is back fit, but given his injury experience, will he be reliable? Let's hope so, because he's an unbelievable bowler. Bowls in the 140 plus, swings it both ways. I'm a massive fan of Xavier Bartlett. I noticed Kerry O'Keefe came out and said he should be picked for Melbourne because he's got a great record there. I just think from what he's done for the in the white ball games that he's definitely worth a go. We've got Doggett and Nasser who have played in some of the early tests. So there's plenty of guys there, probably lacking a spinner, a bit like what happened after Warney retired. They tried a heap of them, so they're going to probably have to go through that same process. It took them a while to land with Lyon, and even Lyon initially wasn't cemented in the team. He was, it took him a while to develop to that level, and they've got a few guys who have played a handful of tests, but are they the answer? So there's so many different questions now for the Aussie team, and as much as we're absolutely loving this success, we're loving this Ashes victory, particularly from a lot of the crap that came from the English side, probably for the last 4 years since they were here last time. And yes, they've made huge improvements, the English, but they probably came out a little bit overconfident, shall we say. So it's been good enjoying that side of things. But to me, there's still concern. Our batting lineup's been fragile for a fair while. We've got Head consistently getting runs now. Carey seems to be doing the same. Smith seems to be back in the runs. But the rest of them have been a bit hit and miss. Labuschagne, you thought was going to come out and score plenty this year. He's got a couple of 50s, and he scored plenty in the Shield before the season started. But he didn't get runs in this test, and he's made a few low scores. As good as Weatherald looks, is he the answer at the top? I think he's worth persisting with. There's a couple of young batsmen coming through, so should be excited about that. But there needs to be some sort of transition. So how will that transition happen? How are we going to make sure that we continue to stay at that high level? And for me as a fan, that's a real concern. And like the curious part of me is like, well, where do we go now? Plenty of people have got their opinion, and I know what's going to happen to a certain degree is if these guys coming into the team don't hit the ground running and get success, then the Australian public is going to be quick to jump on top of them and be hypercritical. We've only got to look back to what happened in that the late 2000s, early 2010s when we did have some really ordinary results. We got rolled for like, was it 40 or 50 or 60 in South Africa? We got well beaten. The English came here and won in 10-11. There was a block there. I think we didn't win the Ashes because we lost them both over there. We didn't win the Ashes for, was it maybe 6-7 years after a long period of dominance? And so the potential is that we could fall into that sort of hole, because if you look at where the Indian team's heading, that they've just got what seems to be generational talent after generational talent coming into the team, and the pipeline of new players is just massive. IPL's just opened up what we already knew about India. They're cricket mad, but now they've got more of a platform to be able to come through. Like what we seem to be still doing a reasonable job. There is a little bit of a concern for me is like how many less people are playing cricket now, or even just watching it. Like, so a couple of people sort of their kids are playing, but like there's a fair few that don't even watch as much. Like from when I was growing up, every kid played and lots of kids play, but every kid watched. Whereas and maybe it's just the circles I'm mixing in, but like is the pipeline there? We've definitely got people waiting in the wings who are going to be good, but how good? That's the question. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Whether if you're watching this on YouTube, leave it in the comments. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify or one of the other platforms, then send me a message. info@ianhawkinscoaching.com, or jump on one of my socials and shoot me a message, because I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's a good problem to have that we've still got these guys who are getting towards the end of their career still performing. It's a good problem to have that we've got lots of different options, but I'm still concerned about how this transition is going to happen given what we've seen before, going back about 15, 20 years ago. So should we be making mass changes? Should we be transitioning? Even should we be using these last 2 test matches to start blooding some of these guys? Or is it more important that we just load up and try and win this series 5-0? That'd be nice. And you can't just give test caps away but there has to be a look towards the future. We've learned those lessons before, and we've seen other countries that haven't done it as well, where they've suddenly had a whole lot of guys retire at the same time. Then they're struggling. Even look at the English now; they've been preparing apparently for this trip to Australia, and they've selected these guys who they thought could do the job, but there doesn't seem to be too many other options. Even now, they've barely made any changes because there's no one waiting in the wings who's the logical person to jump in. Where do we stand on this? For me, I think we've got to start the transition now. some of the bowlers have already got a taste. Let's see who else is out there. Let's start getting more of them in. Oh, what's his name? Cooper Connolly, who had another impressive innings at in the Big Bash this week. And there's no comparison, Big Bash to Test cricket, but he looks the goods. He's a great fielder. He bowls some handy left arm orthodox spin as well, but he just seems to be getting better and better. So there's definitely some young talent coming through, but yeah, where do we go? Do we just take a punt? You think Dave Warner? He never played first class cricket before he's made his Test debut. He's literally gone from 2020 into the Test team. Even Michael Clarke, he hadn't played a heap of first class cricket when they picked him. Do we just punt on one of these young blokes? Is it a slow transition? What do you think? Let us know. You've taken the time to listen to this whole episode. Now it's time to take action. Commit to one thing you've learned today and make it happen. And to avoid any obstructions, join the Sport is Life movement by clicking on the link in the show notes.